You good?
I'm good. We are going live.
Thought my car was catching fire on the way here.
Oh,
It smelled like electrical fire. It's not my car because I just got a recall about Chevy Aveo's actually catching fire, the engine catching fire.
Really?
I haven't taken it in yet because I just haven't, had the time. That excuse.
Maybe a good idea to do
I
that.
feel like I really should. After what I smelled today, I was like, oh, I hope it's not my car.
Absolutely. And the local news.
Yeah, I won't get any money for my car either. That's the worst part about it.
Oh, I wrecked my Equinox up going up 28 by the Harmerville, or not Harmerville, the Highland Park Bridge.
Okay, yeah.
Right before the Highland Park Bridge. And this guy cut me off. And you have to follow real close, otherwise people will cut you off.
Mm.
So I slammed on my brakes, and I had a choice. I could either go up the hill, up the embankment, or I could go to the right and crash. So I smashed right into the guy. Totaled my car.
Oh, God.
Just smashed my car. Totaled it.
Just anger.
Emotional injury.
For weeks. That was the first accident I've been in since like my 20s. It just happened like 6 months ago. Yeah. No. Let me know if you have any issues over there if you help.
Oh, you gotta love technology.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually pretty fun. This is something else they do. It's like live event cutting. Like I sit here, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
1 second. I'll be a little 2 minute delay.
No problem at all. I'm ready to go when you are. Just give me the thumbs up. Makes me have enough time to make myself look pretty. Yeah,
Call the makeup team.
exactly.
You guys anticipating the House of Cards?
Oh, I will be there.
3 in the morning tonight.
I will be there tomorrow morning. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to binge watch the entire season. Yeah. It's
Maybe
horrible.
not the entire season, but
Oh, I'm going to watch the whole thing.
The whole way.
I'm going to go all
it's
the way.
13 hours, right? It's 13 episodes?
Yes, 13 episodes a season. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take a break. I'll go to the bathroom, eat something, grab a snack, have pizza delivered. But no, I can't do that. My wife gave up pizza and wings for Lent, so that means I cannot have pizza or wings at the house.
What do you combine those?
I don't know. I said one
Pizza
or wings. You
Wings
can't.
next year. Pizza next year.
So yeah, so tomorrow will be fried fish. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
It's just going to pop open here. Just give you a thumbs up.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
Yeah, and do the same thing. Have the Google link open. I'll just send you questions as they come in. You feel free to pick them up whenever you'd like.
Sounds great. All righty. Hello, everyone. How you doing over there? This is Louis Gibb again. Thank you for spending the last couple weeks with me, going over a couple classes. Before we went over web design, we went over graphic design. All righty, there we go. We're back. All right, so this is Lewis Gibb again. We have gone over web design, we've gone over graphic design, tools of the trade, and basically how you can start careers in those two fields. Today, specifically, we're going to be going over careers in entrepreneurship, web design, and information technology, or IT. It's pretty funny when I took a look at this curriculum and started going over everything. The number one question that people ask is, why are these three things tied together? And really, it's funny how much these three things have in common. Whether you want to start your own company, build exciting websites, or even applications that people will pay for. In the end, it requires a special set of skill sets, basic skill sets that everyone needs. And what we're going to do is go over what those skills are, how you can go about it, and how these particular skills relate to all three of these industries and careers within these industries. So let's start with this. You are all the future of the career marketplace. Every single one of you are going to hopefully be able to enter into the business world and either start your own business or work in web design or information technology. Whether you're male or female, no matter what your background is, you have all the potential as long as you put in the work necessary to do whatever it is you want to do. So entrepreneurship is something that is extremely important. It takes a special kind of person to be an entrepreneur. It takes a special kind of person to work in web design, and it takes a special kind of person to be an architect, or as far as information technology and applications are concerned. So what are those things? Well, passion is number one. You need to have a passion for what it is that you're doing. If you don't have the passion for it, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to stick to it. And you need to understand that, more importantly, you're going to fail. So that passion is going to help you take that failure that you have with either starting your business, designing your websites, or building an application, and learning from those particular things. So how do we do that? How do you build passion? Building passion is something that you can't really teach, but you can go over what is necessary to do it. So what I'm going to do is just give you a little bit of chunks of information and pieces to kind of give you an idea of what you need to do. So for example, you want to do something that you believe in, something that you're interested in. There's a lot of people that have questions over the last couple of weeks that are built around, hey, how can I get a job in web design? What tools of the trade do I need to learn? That's great. Those types of questions will really get your mind going and really introduce these tools that really will sit down and say, okay, this is what you need, this is how you do it. So you need to believe in it. Starting a business just for the sake of starting a business leaves you directionless. You need to sit down and think about what you really want to do. Tie things together that make you excited. You may want to go into charity work. The company that we're here with, they are a nonprofit organization. We do this because we love to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs, just like yourselves. This is something that we're extremely passionate about. We sit down and we go over every single piece of the curriculum that we're teaching you in great detail to make sure that you guys are getting exactly the information that you need in order to be successful. So we have this charitable mentality. And then we have to go over, okay, now how do we make this into a business that is repeatable over the course of time? Because you can't just build it once and expect to be able to make it last without doing any additional work. All of it requires a drive, a determination, a level of passion that everyone will be able to feel from you, because if you believe what it is that you're selling, okay, no matter what it is, that feeling will come across to the people that you're talking to. And that's a great thing. You want people to feel like you care not just about them, but also about the product that you're selling, and that you're going to support them throughout the entire process. That product can be an actual tangible good. It can be a website. It can be a service. All different types of things that you can actually sell, but you need to stand behind it and have that drive to continue to make it better, that passion. Listen to your target market. Don't beat yourself up if things don't go perfectly the first time. Use the information that you get over the course of talking to the audience and say, okay, I've listened. Now, what am I going to be able to do to make this product or service better based off of the opinions of my customers? Now, if one customer says, hey, I think you should make a change, chances are that's not something that you should take immediate action on. However, if you get more and more people saying, hey, I think you should do this, that, or the other thing, well then, and it's all kind of similar, that's when you sit down and say, okay, I'm hearing a pattern here, and have the passion to follow through and make the positive changes for your business and for your product and for your customers, because your customers will come back. Continue to use that passion to drive you to make the product better, to come up with new products that serve real pain points within the industry that you're trying to serve. Well, for your customers, those pieces and changes that you make to your product or service will continue to show your passion and show that you actually care for them, the customer, your product, and how you're going to move forward into the future. And again, you will fail. You'll probably fail more than once, and that is okay. So please, if you learn nothing else from this class, understand that you will, and as long as you sit back and say, okay, you know what, I did, but what can I learn from that? What can I learn from that failure? Every negative has a positive, as long as you sit down and think about it. And if you don't know, ask people. All of you have friends and family and probably other peers that you can go to and say, hey, what did I do wrong? Or, hey, how do I fix this? And really just be open to talking about it. So that's passion. Passion is something, again, you can't teach it, you need to have it. And you will have it if you work with something that you like to do and you want to do. So think about that. Don't go into business directionless. Sit down and think about it and make sure that you go into a business that you will actually like. So when it comes down to passion, the next thing that you have to be aware of for these careers in entrepreneurship, web design, and information technology is you need to learn about what you want to do, right? If you want to be a web designer, or if you want to go into information technology, you need to learn what it is that you need to do, basic skill sets. For example, if you want to be a web designer, or if you want to become an information architect, you need to learn by going in and becoming someone's intern. In the past, many years ago, we had these apprenticeships. And that's how you learned how to become a cobbler, someone that makes shoes, or you'd be a steel worker, or you'd lay bricks, and you'd apprentice underneath someone. That process has now become an internship, where you learn the basics. You have to sit down and listen to what these professionals, what they have done, how they do things, and understand that while you are an extremely intelligent person, you may not know everything you need to know in order to become successful in this business. Sometimes you need to have multiple internships to really get a good idea of what it is that the industry is about. Information technology is really, multifaceted. What I mean by that is you have the back end side, you have the front end side. Okay, so the back end side is like databases, it's server side stuff, it's all the hardware that really gets people going, right? Without good hardware, without good infrastructure, the website or the application won't run properly. Then you have the front end stuff, which is the web design stuff, you know, how the site looks, how it interacts, how responsive is it? Does it go from, you know, from a large screen on your desktop, like on your iMac, all the way down to a laptop, to a tablet, to a smartphone, and maybe even an iPod or whatever the case may be. You know, these devices are all smaller. They're all different. They're all, you know, varying sizes. So you need to make sure on the front end side that you have all of these different things in mind, and there's different ways of accomplishing this. There's different programming languages. There's different ways of handling the graphics, and all of that plays a factor. So while one language may not be the one for you at first, you may need to intern and figure out which one works best for you, okay? So think about that. Now, to bridge the gap between the front-end developer and the back-end developer, there's what you call the middleware, all right? Those are the pieces that are like wrappers that connect everything together. When I'm building an application for somebody, I built way too many over the course of the years. I probably built a couple hundred. There's a process that you go through, and that process is how much server power do I need to be able to do this? What are the requirements on the server side and the database side? What are the front end tools that we're going to need to be able to deliver this to the audience properly? And then how are we going to communicate between the front end and the back end and make sure that there's as little downtime as possible? All of those things really play a big factor when you're creating a website or you're doing information technology. Now, you're like, okay, well, that's great for web design and information technology, but how does that tie into entrepreneurship? It's actually really simple. You may become a web designer or an information technology person that is also the entrepreneur. In other words, you are the boss. Now, you may start off as the boss of one, which means you're going to be the only person that works there. But if you do a good job, if you're passionate, and if you're producing a product that people want to buy, and people wind up spending money with you, and you continue to build a relationship with those clients, what's going to wind up happening is you're going to grow. And then all of a sudden, you may not have to do as much of the back end stuff or the front end stuff, and you can do more of the strategic entrepreneur stuff, where you're going out there and you're networking with people and you're building a client base and you're servicing people, not in the day-to-day tasks that are needed to build a website or an application, but you're actually doing business growth and development. That's the entrepreneur side. That's the side that really requires a different mindset of, okay, I know technology and I know how to get this technology to do things. And then the entrepreneur side comes out and says, okay, now how do I sell that? And how do I make people engaged and interested in it? All great things that you can combine and mesh. Now, as you go through and learn about what it is that you're doing, because that's what we're talking about right now, learning about what you need to do. Practice. Learn every single aspect about your business, okay? So if you want to become the entrepreneur who is running an IT company or running an advertising agency or running a web design company or building applications, learn as much of the business as possible. And here's the reason why. Not all employees are honest. A lot of employees will sit back, well, not a lot, some employees will sit back and try to what we call sandbag, okay? What that means is, hey, it's going to take me 2 weeks to build that particular thing. Well, if you were educated about how long it actually takes to build these things, you can say, you know, 2 weeks may be a little bit long. I know that if I had this much time every day dedicated to this, In other words, for me to do it myself, I could get it done in 3 days. So you remove a lot of waste, because in the end, whether you're building a website, whether you're building an application, whether you're running a business, it's about profitability. And profitability is something that is, how many hours can I bill for, and how many hours do I need to pay for? And if the amount of money that you're spending on paying for the work to be done is more than the money that you're bringing in, you're not making a profit. That means that your business is going to fail. So you need to make sure that you're bringing in more money all the time than what it costs to actually do the work. So as you can see, all these pieces are flying around, and they seem to be completely and totally unrelated, but they actually really are. So learn the standards, learn about what it is that makes everything work, or as much as possible. Hire people that you can trust. Talk to professionals in the industry that have been doing this for a significant amount of time. I can tell you now, on a day-to-day basis, I'm approached. I went to CMU. I went to University of Miami. I have multiple degrees. The schools call me all the time. Hey, can you talk to this person or that person? They're trying to get into this type of career. Can you help them out? 9 times out of 10, I don't have the time for it. But that one time that I do, I will make the time, and I'll sit down and I'll pick up the phone and I'll get on the phone with these people and say, hey, tell me what it is you're trying to do. All right? And that goes a long way. It just takes asking the question and asking for help. And someone is going to be there to help you. People like myself that have been doing this for a long period of time. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to learning. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There is no stupid question. Just make sure that you're ready to take notes, that you're ready to understand that you are not, at the beginning, the best person at this particular task, all right? You may know a lot, and a lot of you are probably already taking programming classes. I have an 11-year-old son, and he's programming and scripting now. So I know a lot of you are probably going through the same thing, playing with stuff online or building your websites. You guys had some great questions in the web design week where you're asking me, well, what tools should I use? How can I do this? So I know there's a passion there for this. So how do we go about doing that, right? So how do I go about building an entrepreneurial business in any of these markets? Well, first of all, you need to define what your market is. Defining what your market is probably going to be the most painful thing you do in this entire thing. Interning for someone is not that difficult. It's just your time and your ability to pay attention and work hard. But defining your market, it's something that a lot of people make the mistake of not doing. They go out there and they think they know who their market is. And oftentimes, they're so off base. And all it would take is a little bit of research to be able to figure out, hey, this is actually what I need to be able to do. Passionate about it doesn't mean that you know everything about it. So ask questions. Now, there are online communities, there are Facebook groups, there are social media groups, there are all kinds of varying networks and forums and message boards where there are people of like-minded passions that have done this before or are looking for that particular product or service, and they can be tapped and ask questions. I use Google Plus to go into and find people that are experts in their field. For example, some of the things that I do as a web designer, information technology person, and an entrepreneur myself is I will go out and find people who are in an industry that I have no experience in. Medical devices. I have never done medical devices ever before. So what I did was I said, hey, who here has done work in this space? And you'll be surprised. You can do a couple quick searches on Google Plus and pull up all these profiles of people who work in medical device companies. And all I did was send them just an email. Hey, I'd like to talk to you for a minute if you have, a minute to spare. and you ask your questions. And the beautiful part about it is many of these people like to talk. You know why? Because no one ever asks them anything. So when they get to talk about their business or what they do, they get extremely excited. So what turns from a 1-minute conversation can turn into a 15, 20, 30-minute talk about the finer points of, whatever it is that they do. And you can find out so much about where the competition is, what is needed, how you can do things. You can identify weak spots in the industry and come up with all of these different tips and tricks that you would have never thought of on your own because you're talking to industry experts. And all it takes is quite literally reaching out and making the effort and not being scared about, hey, if I reach out to 10 people, if you only get one response, it's still one more educated response than what you had before. And that way you're not creating something in a bubble. That is probably one of the biggest issues I see is people like, I have this great idea, I'm really passionate about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and build it without ever listening to the market, without ever asking people who would be the ones to spend the money on this, all right? Because in the end, if they don't like it, they're not gonna buy it. It's that simple. All right, so understand your market, define it. How are you going to deliver it? What are you going to do? How are you going to support it? Support means many things. Are you going to have an online forum? Are you going to have a message board? Are you going to have a knowledge repository, where you collect all of these different FAQs or frequently asked questions and do a question and answer type of format? Are you going to take email questions? Are you going to have a call center? So many varying things just on one topic of support and how we go about doing that. So identifying the market is extremely important. Are more males going to buy it? Are more females going to buy it? That determines color scheme, it determines weight, it determines so many different factors. Logos, product, packaging, everything it has to be geared to the actual person. Once you go over and you define the marketplace, who it is you're selling to and what it is that you're selling to them, and does that solve a pain point? If you're not solving a pain point, people have no need for it. I can tell you this. While there are very rare exceptions, the iPhone being probably the biggest one, there was no need for the iPhone. There was a need for a phone, but not an iPhone. There was no need for all these applications, that people now take for granted. So that's one of those really obscure types of differences between solving a pain point and creating something that generates a solution that no one knew that they needed. And now everyone's like, I need the newest iPhone. Even though they just brought one, they bought a brand new one 6 months ago, a new one comes out, I got to buy that new one because it's an iPhone. That's a drive, that's determination, that's something that's rare. So unless you have something that's game-changing like that really is just, wow, I can't believe that I never saw this in the marketplace ever before. And this, there has to be a pain point that you're solving in a particular industry. And that pain point that you solve, if it's priced properly, this is what we're going to go on to next, is the price point. If it's priced properly, you will sell over and over and over again. So you need to define a price. And how do you go about defining a price? That's such a difficult thing, because as entrepreneurs, we're all risk takers. I take risks more often than I should when it comes to business. I do a lot of stuff for nonprofits. I do a lot of stuff for schools and many different charities and stuff like that, because for me, it's important. I did a lot of stuff for Make-A-Wish and everything else also. But that's my time that I spend on my own. But in the end, when you're creating a new business, you need to decide, okay, well, how much of my time can I dedicate to my charitable stuff? And then how much am I going to be able to bill for my time when I actually create something? determining the price point is a difficult thing for many reasons. Number one, you need to keep in mind the cost of building it. All right. So let's say it takes you 6 months to build this particular solution, and you're paying someone, maybe 2 or 3 people, and it costs you, let's just say, $250,000 to build this website and solution for an audience. And now you're like, okay, well, how do I make money off of this $250,000, and how much money can I make? Well, you're not going to sell one of these for $250,000 and be done. Right? You need to sell more than one because the lower the price point, the more people you get to buy, which means that you start making money on volume. And volume allows you to make more profits. So here's the way it works. It's I'm sure many of you out there, that are advanced, and I know a lot of you are, they have probably much greater economic knowledge than I do at this point. But it's very simple. The more affordable you make the product for the customer, the more customers will buy. And when you make it a no-brainer decision, okay, there are many people that can go to WordPress or go to GoDaddy and buy a hosting package and build a website by clicking a few buttons, but it's not going to solve any problems, and it's going to be really poorly done because these people don't have the expertise to do it. But if you're able to go in and say, hey, I can build it for you, and I can build this particular solution for you, and so that way it only takes you a couple of minutes instead of hours or weeks to be able to have a web presence. Now you have something that people are like, oh, wait a minute, so I don't have to do anything, and it's affordable. It's almost on par with what I'm going to be paying somebody else for me to do it myself. Of course I'm going to do it that way, because now I have to spend less time. So you need to think about, okay, what's that price point going to be? Well, if you have $250,000 invested and you want to make your money back, it's a very simple thing. You sit down and say, okay, well, how many units do I need to sell? Well, depending on that, it's 25, 50, 100, 250, and then you determine what your price point is. Then you want to add a multiplier on there, because if you're paying someone to do the work, you also need to have money to make a profit, overhead, taxes, so many different varying things you need to worry about. Not just taxes, but Social Security. You have unemployment tax, you have Social Security tax, you have all these other taxes that are state and federal and local municipalities. It starts to become extremely overwhelming. So you need to make sure you're adding in enough money as a multiplier for you to actually make a profit as well. And once you do that and you set the price point, you can then go to market and say, hey, I have this product. I could charge you $5,000 for this, but I'm not going to, because I know I'll be able to sell it to 10 times as many people and make money that way, and it's more affordable to everyone else. They're all going to be like, wow, that's awesome. You're going to do that for us? Absolutely, I will. Part of that is be honest. Now, don't tell people, hey, it cost me $250,000 to make this, but hey, I'm going to pass on these savings to you because I'm going to be making it up in volume. Let them know that this is a business that is based off of whatever particular criteria you decide to roll out with. All right? Be honest to yourself, be honest to your employees, and be honest to your customers. So many people try to find ways to take advantage of their customers. I have unfortunately been involved with people that have done things in very non-honest ways, dishonest ways. So what winds up happening is this: you'll have someone that say, hey, I'm going to build this proposal, and I'm going to tell this client over the phone, I'm going to charge you $30,000 for this. And then they send out the proposal, and they actually make it for $40,000. And then the client's like, wait a minute, you told me $30,000 over the phone, and now I have this proposal for $40,000. Why is that? Well, if there's an actual legitimate reason, be honest about it. But if you told someone, hey, I'm going to charge you $30,000 for this, don't go back and try to make more money at the end, because there is such a thing as your own personal pride in your work. And if you're passionate and you're honest about these things, you can then go ahead and build a trust, and people will view you as a go-to person for these particular types of products, for these particular types of services. Word of mouth is the only way I get business. I do not do any advertising. I let everyone that has ever worked with me be my voice. Someone will come to them and say, hey, I need to build this website or this application, or I need to have this video, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, all right, they'll be like, all right, I know exactly who you need to talk to. Talk to Lewis. He's the guy. And what winds up happening is I get so much work from just people who are happy with me being honest with them and supporting them and making sure that they're actually people that are happy to do business with me, that they sit back and they're like, man, this is the guy that I'm going to recommend to everybody. So by being honest and being an upfront type of person, you wind up being the go-to person for everybody. And while people typically never mention the good things that happen, if someone comes to them and says, hey, who would you recommend for this particular type of thing? They will recommend people that they trust. And if they trust you, it's because you're honest with them and you provided a service that they love, and that you're continuing that process of providing that trust and fostering that relationship. Doing that will take you far beyond what's anything, all those people who are dishonest and everything else. It's just not going to work. Now, this is a nice segue into the next area, social media. We talked about social media a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to spend just a little bit on social media here. You have to utilize for your business social media. You have to. You may not like Facebook, you may not like Twitter, you may not like any of those, LinkedIn, any of those. You may not like any of them. But unfortunately, most people now will be on their phones, and they'll be like, hey, I need someone who does this, and they'll be searching, and they'll go on Facebook and ask their friends, or Twitter, or whatever the case may be. So if they can easily find you on social media, that's great. But as young people, let me caution you. Social media is forever. Everything that you post on social media, it doesn't matter whether you delete it. The minute that you post it, it's there. So as young people, you need to think about that. Think about where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And whenever you post, does this post make a difference to my future success? Do you need to post pictures or selfies of this or that or the other thing? You don't need to. But of course, I'm not telling you to not, post pictures of yourself for family and friends and stuff, but be aware. Make the right choices, because in the end, when someone goes to Google and they type in your name, and the first thing they see is a bunch of pictures pop up on Google Images that are pictures of you doing whatever it is that you did on vacation or spring break or whatever the case may be, they're going to look at those and be like, I don't know if I want to do business with this person. All right? But also, social media is a way for people entrepreneurs to manage their customer service. I can tell you this. If I have a problem at a restaurant, if I have a problem with a business, if the store manager doesn't do something for me, the first thing I do is I go to social media. And I'll go to Facebook and I'll make a post and say, hey, I had this problem at this location, and this is what happened. What's going on? How come this store isn't doing the same thing as the other stores? And typically, there's an immediate reply. And they're like, hey, we'll get back to you about this, and they talk to you about it. That's great. That's fantastic. That's a good use of social media. But be aware of the bad use of social media. If someone does say something disparaging about your business, about your company, about the people that work for your company, about you personally, you're better off not saying anything and just blocking that communication. All right, delete the post, block the user. So many ways of handling that. Just do that. It's better to do that and take the high ground than it is to try to go into some kind of online social media war with someone that you don't even know, with someone that doesn't even matter, because you know what the internet does is it creates internet tough guys. These people that go on social media or these websites, and you're like, hey, they started trolling. I'm sure all of you know about trolling. If you play video games at all, you guys have heard about the term. But that's what they do. They troll. They go out there and they're looking to do nothing but cause problems. Plain and simple. Don't get sucked into that. Don't do it. Okay? So think about it and be very cognizant of it. And social media, besides being customer support, it's great for public relations. You can post things. You can, post all of these great things that you do for your clients, for the services that you're launching. You can go out there and you can actually say, hey, we're launching this new feature, that new feature, or you can start asking people about all these different things. I have a couple requests for this type of feature. If we were to add this, would that encourage you to buy it? And then you'd wind up getting these responses back. So it works as a way for communication and information gathering. And then public relations. Traditionally, public relations is, someone writes up a press release and they shoot it off to a newswire and it gets sent out across, the planet. But all those things cost money. Sending out a press release nationwide to, several different industries will cost you about $1,000. So you need to be cognizant about the cost, but understand the cost-benefit analysis of doing this press release could lead to X number of new clients, and you need to, weigh the benefits of it. There's easy ways of doing public relations, though, that may not require you to spend that much money. So I'm going to go over a couple of those little tips and tricks for you. Locally, everybody has newscasters. You have TV stations, you have papers, you have reporters, editors, all these different people within the actual public relations sphere. And LinkedIn is another way to get access to these people. Their Facebook channels are also ways to get access to these people. Their Twitter handles. Reach out to them. Try to build a communication with them. Don't try to sell them on using or talking about your product. Just build a communication. Hey, I saw your article or your story or your newscast about X, Y, or Z. That was great. Good job. And talk to them, get to know them, see what they like to write articles about, see what their interests are as far as creating stories that their audience will want. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because they may be champions for you to be able to get you featured in a news story, especially if you're doing something charitable, if you're doing something that's in the nonprofit space, and you're doing something that solves a real pain point for, let's say, the community. You can actually wind up getting free press coverage just by spending 3, 6, 9 months, or however long it takes to build a relationship with these reporters and newscasters and editors. There are all kinds of special events where these TV stations and these newspapers are holding benefits for this, that, and the other thing, and you can go in and shake hands and and get to know these people face to face, and always carry a business card with you and hand off your business card if you've never met this person before. Ask them, hey, is it okay if I give you a call one day, and then reach out, but don't push at first. Get to know them, see what interests them, and then if it makes sense based off of their interest in creating articles or their editorial plan or calendar, you can ask them, and it's typically available online, what their editorial calendar is for the year. Newspapers, magazines, they have it all listed on their websites. Here's our editorial calendar for the year. Why? Because that's where they sell advertising space. So they can then go to a window manufacturer that sells, these windows that are really highly efficient and green in an energy, in an energy-saving article, in an energy-saving publication that's driven by, renewable energy or sustainable energy. And now, if your service or product is servicing that same thing, they may be able to come to you and say, hey, you know what? I remember Lewis. This guy is an expert in this particular thing, and I've talked to him several times, and I've actually had drinks with him, or I had dinner with him. I went for coffee, and this guy's actually pretty cool. He may have some information. They may call you up. I've actually had that happen to me. If you do a search for me, I've done press releases for civil and environmental consultants, Expense Anywhere, and all kinds of local companies where, by just building a relationship, never spending any money, but just sitting down and getting to know the reporters and editors, business, travel, news, all did articles on the companies that I do work with because of my relationships. Has nothing to do with the fact that I spent any money. It's just getting to know these people and having discussions. So do a little bit of legwork, get to know these people, and understand that they are humans, and they will be able to, no matter where they are in their career, chances are they're going to talk to you, because if you have something that is extremely important or solves a pain point, they're going to come to you and be like, hey, you know what? That idea you had, can you tell me more about that? Then all of a sudden it starts to snowball into something more, which is just great. I talked a little bit about this in internships and mentors and apprenticeships, and I just want to talk about it a little bit more because I think it's important, especially for the younger guys and girls in this class here. All of you are extremely intelligent, but just remember, there are so many different things that, in ways to do things, you may not know how to do them all. And the more that you can learn from someone that has been doing this for a period of time, doesn't matter whether it's been a couple years or a couple decades, or maybe, like myself, 30 plus years, for a while, you can sit back and get information from people that would be more than happy just to sit down and talk, because, hey, you know what, I have a free evening, or I sit down every once in a while and I'll have coffee with someone at at Starbucks down by CMU, some business student at Tepper. I'll do that because they made the effort to contact me, and they made a continuing effort, and they're sharing things that are like, you know what, this kid actually has something different. And if you're able to get that across to these people, they'll be more than happy to help you out and give you advice. And then it's your job to listen. It's your job to take notes. It's your job to ask questions and understand when it's time to also pull back and say, hey, thank you so much. If I have any other questions, is it all right if I reach out to you? Most times they're going to be like, yeah, not a problem. Send me an email, leave me a message, whatever the case may be. So you may disagree with a lot of what some people say, and that's okay. But go out there, talk to these people, listen to them, and understand that there is not one way to do everything right. So think about that. Now I'm going to give you a couple sage pieces of advice. Don't give up. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to go into web design, if you want to go into building applications or doing information architecture, or building a SQL database and being an administrator of databases, or whatever the case may be, don't give up. It's going to be hard. You're not going to do it right the first time. Chances are, I've built applications where I will sit there and bang my head off the wall, not literally, but figuratively, because I'm sitting there going, oh my Lord, what the heck is going on? This thing is just not working. So I get up, I take a break, and I come back, and you find something simple, an extra colon, an extra semicolon. Sometimes it's just a syntax error where you fat fingered a key. I have giant hands, so it's like, I'm sitting here typing on a small keyboard, and I hit an extra, space, or I hit this or that, and all of a sudden the application breaks. I said, wait a minute, how'd that happen? It's okay. Even now at this point, I make mistakes all the time. If I didn't have spell check, oh, I'd be in trouble. I would be in trouble. Spell check is a lifesaver, but also understand that, hey, take your time, build these things properly, review it over and over. Don't do everything on your own. Ask for advice, okay? Make sure that you understand that not everything is going to be resolved in a split second, and everything takes time. Now, for everyone, it's this side of the house. It's it may be you all pick it up and you're building a website within a week. It's not going to happen. It very well could. And then everybody else over here is like, hey, it takes me a month to learn how to do this. And everyone is different, and that's okay. And the way that this side of the house approaches it and this side of the house approaches it may be completely and totally different. But at the end, it all comes together. And you're all doing things the same way. It's just a matter of understanding that the learning process is different. The way that you need to see examples may be different. It may be difficult for you to open up Notepad and just start typing away, creating code. So they make these software packages that allow you to have color-coded code sections. So it's really easy to see what's an executable, what's an include, what is just inline text, whatever it happens to be. Everything is color-coded, so that way, visually, for visual people like my son, you can see the differences between everything. And that makes it so much easier because you're like, oh, and sometimes coding in black and white becomes tiresome on the eyes, so it's okay. Think about it. And then as you go through and you're creating this, understand that there are people that have done this. There are entrepreneurs, there are web designers, there are IT people that you can join organizations. Locally, and here in Pittsburgh, for example, there's the MIT, the Enterprise Forum, that meets regularly downtown. There's social gatherings, there's meetups, there's all of these different organizations for web designers and programmers where everyone gets together. They do hackathons. How cool is that, right? Everyone's trying to find a solution for something, and they all get together for a day or a weekend. They sit there and they code for the entire day or the entire weekend. And those are people who are just like you. And whether you're in web design, information technology, or entrepreneurship, you wind up having all of it available to you. The same crowd, whether they're all going to be either on LinkedIn, they're all going to be on meetups, they're all going to be in local forums. There's Facebook groups, there's Twitter groups, all of these different things that you can go through and meet like-minded people that can give you ideas that may also become business partners, or at worst, that can do work for you. One of the things that we do all the time is we partner with organizations that can solve the problem faster than we can. It's fantastic because we get to deliver the product faster, and we can then also make more money in the end. So remember, work hard to get ahead. A couple things when it comes to having a career in this is that, remember, when you're an entrepreneur, your job is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not. You're going to be dealing with people multiple time zones, maybe even around the world, depending on what it is that you're doing and selling. And because of that, you need to be available when your clients are available, not when you want to be available. Remember, everything that you do to limit your client base, it's going to shrink and shrink and shrink your market cap, right? And what that means is every time that you create another niche and another niche, that's less people that'll buy, less people that'll buy. And the less available that you are to your clients, the harder it's going to be to do business with them. So just be aware of that. Work hard, you will get ahead. Strive for success. Absolutely strive to be successful, but always remain humble. Remember where you came from. You know, I can tell you this much. You know, I was born in Philly, raised in Miami, Florida. You know, I had a difficult life. I'll never forget where I come from. You know, my mom reminds me all the time. But in the end, you know, it's up to you to remember that even when you make it, sit back and understand that you made it, and that's great. But don't forget who you are, and don't ever sacrifice yourself for business. Allow your great idea to evolve and change. Don't stop. Just because you made it once, there's always a better way to build a mousetrap. There's always a better way to solve a solution. If you don't do it, someone else will do it for you. So remember that. Acknowledge your own shortcomings. If you can't do something, that's okay. Hire the people that can. All right? It's okay. You're not going to be able to do everything. I can't do everything. You know, and the reality is everyone has a limit. So acknowledge it and understand it. Hire and promote the right people. All right? So if you do hire people, keep track of what they do. Understand what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, help them improve their weaknesses, and reward their strengths. And you will be amazing. Ask for help when you need it. This is huge. You need to ask for help. It's okay to ask. And whether it's friends or family or peers, you know, even people that, let's say you are running a business and you are, you know, the CEO of the company. Sometimes you need to ask for help still. It's okay. And don't make promises that you can't keep. Under promise, over deliver will always lead to success. If you know that you can get it done in a week, tell someone a week and a half. And that way, when you deliver within a week, or maybe even sooner, they're like, wow, that was quick. It makes them feel so much more important. If you tell someone, hey, you know, send me an email and I'll get back to you within 24 hours, and they send you an email and you get back to them within an hour, whoa, you know, that really just makes them feel so much better. And always challenge and encourage yourself. Remember, no matter how many times you fail, you've succeeded at something. Every day you've done something to drive yourself forward. Don't focus on the negative. Only focus on the positive. Reward what you got done that day, that week, that month, that year. Reflect. Understand everything that you did right. And as you start to tally up this list of all the things that you did right, you're going to start feeling really good about yourself. And that's a great feeling. Do it. Understand it. And if there is anything you need to take from a negative perspective, see how you can turn that into a positive. Okay, well, I did this wrong. That's okay, because now moving forward, I know I'm only going to do it this way. Okay, and I'm going to make this particular change, and this particular change is going to make my life this much easier. You know, so remember those things and understand that no matter what, as long as you work hard, as long as you go through and you're honest and you're delivering a product that solves a pain point, you're going to be successful. And that's it for me right this very second. Do we have any questions? No. Wow, again, that's 2 for 2. Woo! And again, be proud of what you do. If you happen to have any questions, please feel free to email. We'll answer them whenever you send them over. Also, this video will be available online, and we'll get the links over to you guys so you can take a look at it. And again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being your teacher for the last couple of weeks.
I will tell you that even though we haven't questioned, we have been getting feedback.
Oh, good.
People saying thank you very much. They appreciate the time you put in. You're doing a great job.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, I'll be available whenever you need me. So thank you so much, and talk to you soon.